Hey, what's up? Jason here from Unity3D.College. Today, I just wanted to talk about coding standards and underscores. So when I first started off game development, I guess kind of near the beginning of my programming career, the first project I was on, I went in, started coding, and was just kind of wild and loose, naming things whatever the hell I wanted. And shortly after I began, somebody took a look at the code, the guy in charge. It's like, hey, in these member variables, these private variables in your classes, for our project, we're using an M and an underscore to prefix them. And this was a C++ project working in Unreal, and it was really common. There were a lot of M underscores everywhere. There were also some G underscores, which were essentially global pointers to things. But again, the point of this was just that they had this standard, and I didn't really understand it at the time. I had no idea why we were putting an M underscore in front of things that were private. Hell, at the time, I really didn't understand why things were private instead of just making everything public. I just kind of started out and didn't really understand encapsulation or, keeping things scoped kind of cleanly and the benefits that you get from that. So I went on for a good 5 years, maybe longer, basically until I went to another company, going with this standard right here, this M underscore whatever it is, for anything that was private. When I made the switch, though, this new company that I went to was just using an underscore. And I'd seen that a lot in open source projects and just things that I'd looked at online. A lot of people were using just an underscore for their private variables. It's like, okay, that's fine. I can make that switch. And I think I started off doing these M underscores, and everybody's like, what the hell is the M for? And I don't even remember. It was around when I started, and it used to mean something. Somebody explained it once. Didn't matter at the time. So anyway, they were like, hey, why using that? I stopped, went to the straight underscore, and I stuck with that for a very, very long time. So I think up until about a year ago, I was consistently using an underscore in front of every private variable. And then one day, I was working on a project with a friend of mine, Kyle, and he just asked me, he said, hey, I forget exactly how he worded it, but basic question is, why the hell are we putting underscores here? Like, do we really need those? Because he was using, I think he was using Writer at the time, and it was already automatically coloring private variables for him. And then in Visual Studio, you can do that as well. And you can do it with something like this free semantic colorizer or ReSharper and JustCode, and I think the DevExpress one also. They all support this coloring of different things based on the scope. So we can make private variables, whatever random color you choose, and have it show up in the editor, in the code editor, and be really obvious too. So that way, if it's not right here and it's kind of off screen, you could see it without the underscore. And when he mentioned that, like I said, I was a little bit surprised. It kind of made me rethink, like, why the hell am I putting underscores? Do I really need them? And then I thought, well, this coloring thing, that seems like more than enough. It's getting the same thing done. So I made the switch, started using the colored different versions of variables. And I think I changed a couple of them. But private members were the main thing that I changed the color of. And then a couple months passed, and I realized that I had reinstalled Visual Studio, never re-enabled the coloring stuff, and it didn't make a damn bit of difference. Like, I wasn't ever struggling to know what was private and what was public. The casing alone kind of made it obvious. That combined with having relatively short methods. So I can see where it could still have some value if you've got a pretty old code base that's got lots of big giant methods and it's kind of hard to tell what's private and what's public. But in my experience so far, if you keep the project clean and just abide by solid principles, keep your files relatively small, there's really no benefit in these underscores and the M underscores, and it just kind of adds a little bit of extra noise that may not need to be there. Now again, if I'm working on a project and they're using underscores or M underscores or whatever, I'm going to go with that, because while having it shorter is kind of nice, it's much more important to just be consistent. You want to make sure that whatever your project is using, everybody's using the same format and the same standards throughout that project, or else you're just going to run into confusion and problems. Imagine if half the project has M underscore players or whatever, M underscore for private things, and then another half doesn't. It just goes like this. Then you've totally destroyed any value of this M underscore players, and you've made it a little bit confusing because now it's like, hey, this one doesn't have it. Does that mean it's not a private member variable and this is some parameter in the method that I don't know about? No. So you don't want to do that. You definitely want to stick with one standard. Pick one and stay with it throughout that project. If you want to vary it up by project, fine, but I'd recommend kind of, iterating, coming up with the best possible coding standards for your team, and then just sticking to that. Now, for me personally, I prefer it now with no prefixes here. Just keep it clean, keep the classes small, and everything's good. But do whatever you like and keep it clean. Have fun with it. And if you have comments about this too, if you got feedback on what you like to use or reasons I might be wrong about that, let me know in the comments. I also I sent out a poll earlier. I'll link it below too, just kind of get an idea of what everybody else is using. I was a little curious if a large percent of people are using underscores or not using them, or the older M underscore thing. So far it seems like no underscores is winning, but if you want to go give your feedback in there, go ahead and just click on it, vote for whatever one you're using, and then it'll show you the results at the end. All right, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks again.